Hey, welcome once again to another episode of B&B Hockey Talk. I'm your host, Aaron Bloxel, with my co-host, Mr. Matt Balzer. Remember to like and share and comment on our Facebook page or hit the subscribe button on our YouTube page and comment there. As you all know, we love bringing this to you each and every day. So today, Wednesday, September 26th, we're going to get you caught up on all the news around the league. Starting off with today's episode, we're going to touch on injuries as there's starting to be some major players falling down, getting hurt. And Matt's welcome to the show. He's going to bring us up to date with all that.
Yeah, so some huge major injuries announced today. The biggest one coming from the Anaheim Ducks, Corey Perry is out 5 months after injuring his knee in warm-up last night. So he had knee surgery to repair some meniscus and an MCL injury. So that's 5 months gone, and with Anaheim's lack of offense from the wings, that'll be a huge hit. Could free up a spot for Andre Kasha to move into the top six. With Corey Perry, that's a huge hit to that top line with Getzlaf and Raquel. Along with Seth Jones is out 4 to 6 weeks with an MCL sprain. I think we both had him in our top 5 NHL defensemen going into this season. And with him missing the first month, it'll go a long ways for like Zach Werenski to really step up to carry that top power play unit and that back end. Along with Nikita Kucherov left in this before the second period with a lower body injury. Coach John Cooper said it was just precautionary, so it should be short term, but that's another injury to keep an eye on.
Alex Galchenyuk of the Arizona Coyotes, of course, is also going to miss the season opener, it looks like. Hopefully not too much more than that. There are a few injuries starting to pile up. And there's going to be a hearing that we know of for hit last night. Why don't you walk us through that, and then we'll touch on some more of these injuries.
Yeah, so in the Washington-St. Louis game at the start of the third period, Robert Bertuzzo elbowed defenseman Michael Kempney in the head. Kempney left with an upper body injury and didn't return. So he will have a league hearing, I believe it was scheduled later today, so probably tomorrow we'll find out the result of how many games he gets, but it'll probably be under 5 games. I don't believe Bertuzzo has been suspended before. He might have only had one suspension before, so it shouldn't be anything long term. Some other league news to get to. Devontae Smith-Pelly has not yet played a preseason game for the Washington Capitals due to his conditioning. Apparently he showed up way overweight, except Washington go the Jake Dotchin route with Tampa Bay and release him. They're basically just waiting for him to get back in shape. Smith-Pelly said like the short summer had an effect on that, but with basically the entire team returning minus a couple players, they all had the same summer. They all came back in shape. Ovechkin, after all his partying and everything, he still got back in shape and ready for camp. So that's something to keep an eye on there.
Well, I think Smith-Pelly has had weight issues before coming into camp. I know when he was with Montreal, he came in well overweight. And, to be honest, he's one of those guys that I can see partied hard this summer with winning the Stanley Cup, living his dreams, and just has to have more discipline. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then also some big name players making their preseason debuts either today or tomorrow. Erik Karlsson will make his Sharks debut tomorrow, pairing with Marc-Edouard Vlasic on that top pairing. So I think that could be the Sharks' number 1 pairing. Just because Brent Burns is a lot better defensively than Erik Karlsson. So they can afford to move Burns off that top pairing with Vlasic. I think I saw a comment between Vlasic and Karlsson because I believe it was a couple of years ago where Marc-Edouard Vlasic speared Carlson in a game and then I think one of the media guys brought it up, and they sort of Carlson went over and asked, and oh, remember when you speared me, sort of thing, and he tried to end my life, sort of thing. He's like, yeah, it didn't work, sort of thing. But now they're going to be paired together tonight or tomorrow, and Ryan Suter will make his debut tonight after breaking his ankle at the end of last season. So that's huge for the Wild to get him back. He's that solid number one defenseman for them, and good to have him back in the lineup. Also,
we have a couple of other weird stories as well in the NHL. We'll start with Zach Smith in Ottawa. He had obviously been put on waivers yesterday. He's since cleared waivers and is staying with the team and actually playing with center on the top line with Brady Tkachuk and Mark Stone. Weird situation in Ottawa. What do you make of it? And then we're going to talk about probably the weirdest story yet of the day.
Yeah. So the Smith situation is like he says he's going to come back motivated and all that, but it's going to be a really super awkward situation between him and like the coaching staff and management. Just going through that whole situation still doesn't make sense why they did it to begin with, but it'll be interesting to see how things turn out. And centering that top line, like that won't be realistic when the season starts. But they're hoping he can get back to that 25 goal season he had a couple years ago. But yeah, that's another interesting situation to see. And as you brought up, the strangest story out of today is Philadelphia Flyers center Jori Lehtera is a suspect in a cocaine distribution case in Finland. Apparently, there were several people arrested on one of his properties that he has over in Finland. He hasn't been charged with anything as of yet, but that is the strangest story coming out. And for some reason, every once with Mike Richards or like the Jared Stoll situations, every once in a while these things are starting to creep up on NHL players getting caught with some drug involvement.
Well, and Ron Hextall of the Philadelphia Flyers has said that they've had conversations with Lehtera about it. They're going to keep that internally for now. It is a weird story, a weird situation, because like you said, he hasn't been charged for anything yet. I don't know if it was a rental property potentially where his renters were doing something illegal on his property, or if he is involved, whether as a distributor or a user. It's yet to be seen. Definitely not something you want if you're a property manager or if you're looking for investment property and that's what your renters do. But that is going to be an interesting story to keep our eye on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to follow that up because it's just a weird.
I know, yeah, it's just pretty weird. But I think we can get to some transactions that happened today and yesterday. The Vegas Golden Knights sent their top pick from a couple years ago, Cody Glass, back to the Portland Winterhawks. That basically means he'll be Canada's star number one center at the World Juniors this coming year. Along with Calgary making a couple moves, they put Alan Quinney or Quine and Kirby Reichel on waivers. And they also sent down prospects Spencer Fu and Oliver Kylington. I'll go with, even though it's probably a different pronunciation. But
because he's Swedish, they pronounce it Shylington, which is still blows my mind. So I don't know how they get that, but.
Yeah, so they got sent down to the American Hockey League. Carolina Hurricanes sent down Jake Bean and Julian Gauthier down to the American Hockey League. Jake Bean looked like he was having a pretty good training camp, but since it's his first year pro, and with the amount of depth that Carolina has on their back end, I believe Carolina's defense, all their salary combined, is more than all their forwards are making going into the season. I think they're the only NHL team where their defense is making more than all their forwards, but that's just because all their forwards are all on their entry-level contracts as of right now, or on cheaper deals. And then the biggest surprise his Nashville Predators sending top prospect Eli Tolvanen down to the American Hockey League. I believe he's had a bit of a quiet preseason just from the stats that I've seen.
Yeah, he got his first assist just last night. So
yeah. So that's a bit of a surprise, just because of all the hype going to the end of last season, having a great year in the KHL, and then coming over to Nashville. Even though he didn't really get into too many games, he was going to be one of those guys that was going to be talked about for the Calder Trophy this year. But with Nashville, usually they do take a longer time developing their prospects, and I don't think it will be long until Tolvanen gets recalled as the season goes along. But that was a bit of a surprise going into this season.
yeah, I was actually surprised Tolvanen only had the 1 assist so far. The other one that surprised me was Rasmus Dahlin getting his first point last night for Buffalo in regular preseason. And with Cody Glass being sent down now, I remember how mad the Canuck fans were when we didn't draft Cody Glass and we drafted Pettersson instead. But I think right now that's looking like a great draft for the Canucks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, last night, Canucks disappointed with a 6-0 loss to the Edmonton Oilers, where Ty Ratty and Puljujarvi looked absolutely amazing for Edmonton, along with some of their main starters and players. What stood out for you, not just in that game, but also around the rest of the league?
Yeah. So, just to touch on that game first, I think with all the question marks that the Oilers had on their right wing, I think Ty Ratty and Jesse Puljujarvi are really solidifying that top six, where there were question marks going from their play last year, especially Puljujarvi, just with his draft class, where he was projected to be a top 3 pick, and then he slipped back to that fourth pick for Edmonton. Usually it's like with younger guys, once when they don't start producing right away, especially if they're at that top end, people start questioning why, sort of thing. But Puljujarvi especially looked great last night, especially with that atrocious Vancouver Canuck defense that we keep putting out. Man, it is going to be a long year in Vancouver.
In the words of the great Tony Gallagher, a lot of them are looking like they're holograms back there.
But yeah, it's like out of all the Canuck media, it's like they say like the only guys that have improved, and this has really stood out for me, is like Troy Stetcher has looked really good this preseason, and some say Ben Hutton's improved this year, but he's especially been getting the chances to prove himself. I think he still had like a bit of an up and down preseason defensively, but at least offensively, he's carrying the puck a lot more into the offensive zone and making it a habit to try to get pucks on net. To create rebound chances, but like guys like Michael Del Zotto have really struggled. Erica Branson had a decent first period, and then after that it went way downhill. And then Nielsen had a bit of a tough night in the third period, but I thought especially in the second period he stood on his head to try to keep the Canucks in it. But they Canucks still ended up getting 35 shots on goal, but they just couldn't get a bounce. But Canucks are still under double digits for this entire preseason for goals, which is not good, especially when most of the goals have been on the power play. So that's something to take notice heading into the final preseason game on Saturday. But going into around the league, there were a couple of high-scoring games. Detroit beat Chicago 8-6, which it's like for a Canucks fan, it's like, can I get one of those games, please? Just a few goals. And
Thomas Vanek, I'm sure fans know,
yes,
led the way with he had 3 or 4 points last night for Detroit.
Yeah, 2 goals and 3 points. Matt had a goal, 3 points. Anthony Cio had 2 goals and 4 points. So the big guns were going, but along with Chicago, Taves had 2 goals and 3 points. Kane had 3 assists. Keith had 3 points, and their first-round pick from this year, Adam Boqvist, had 2 assists as well. I'll be intrigued to see if he makes the team. Apparently, he's had a pretty good preseason in Chicago, and with some of the question marks that Chicago has on their back end, I think they're going to try to get some youth into that lineup going in, and because and still keep an eye on Chicago is that Stan Bowman said they were going to try to make a signing closer to the start of the season. At first, it looked like Lucas Spiez's name was going to come up there, but he signed with the Islanders earlier this week. So I still think they're going to try to sign a forward just because their lack of depth there. And they sent down a couple guys like Dylan Sakura and Victor Edstill, who were projected before the season to make the team, but they've both been sent down to the American Hockey League.
Well, Kevin Bieksa's name's still on the board. Maybe that might be a spot for him to play.
I know, yeah. And then in the Buffalo-Columbus game, I saw a few highlights here. Adam Clendenning actually finished off a really nice scoring play with us Canucks fans here. Remember giving up Gustav Forsling for Adam Clendenning just because they were supposed to be the same player, but Clendenning was supposed to be further along, and that lasted probably I believe less than 20 games before he was gone or something like that. But a few high scoring games. But the Oilers, at least offensively, from last night, they look great going into the season.
Excellent. Well, we'll end the show today with your quote from Canucks coach Travis Green.
Yeah. So after the game last night, the quote is like, I don't think anybody grabbed the ball. They just played a hockey game. And at this time of the year, when you're trying to make a team, you better bring something to the table. So it's just a lot of the guys were just out there just sort of doing their thing shift after shift. Nobody was really bad, looked like they were trying to make the team at all. It's just there's been a few guys I'd like to see more of, like Jake Virtanen. He's had glimpses here and there, but he's had a pretty quiet preseason, going off from last year where he must have scored at least 4 or 5 goals during last preseason and trying to make the team. But this year he's been pretty quiet so far. And other guys that haven't played as much, but Adam Gaudette's had his ups and downs. And then you get guys like Brendan Gaunce, who also looks like he's on the outs in Vancouver, hasn't done much. But yeah, it has to be a wake up call. The Canucks only have 1 preseason game left, and that will basically be all the starters going into the season, with maybe a couple last shots for some guys trying to make the team.
Well, again, if you like the show, remember to like and comment below here on either our Facebook page or on YouTube. Remember to share our page and subscribe. We love hearing your comments. Make sure you comment lots so we can interact with you guys. And this has been B&B Hockey Talk with Aaron Bloxel and Matt Balzer. We will see you guys again tomorrow, and we'll update you on all the stuff happening around the world of hockey. You guys have a great night.